A way of expressing information is through a table. To define a table in HTML, we utilize the table tag. I got my caps lock on, unfortunately. Alright, so we got our table. Now, we can add a caption. That's basically the title of our, well, table. And in this case, I'm going to be doing people information. Alright, not that information. I'm not a stalker. Now, when you think about it, tables encompass both rows and columns. So you can basically format your table to be a bunch of rows, and then in each row are the set pieces of data separated by columns. So to define a row, we do tr. Now the first row is going to be served out as our header. So in each case, well, in each column, we're going to have something different than all the data that we have later on. So that's going to require different formatting. So in that case, we're going to use the th tag, which will make the, well, format of the text bold. So th is going to be first name. Then the second th is going to be the last name. And then the third table header is going to be the H. So let's see how this looks. Alright, so we got our caption, basically the title of our table. Then we have first name, last name, and age. And these are basically going to serve as the, well, headers of our columns. Alright, so once we get that row done, we're going to start another row. And in this row, we're going to have, let's say, someone's name. So table row. Alright, so now this is not a header. In this case, we have data. So in this case, we're going to use TD. TD is just stands for table data. So let's start off with me, Fozon. Then we do TD again, another table data, last name, and then age. I'm going to put 19, obviously not my real age. Well, there you go. Fozon A19. They fall coherently with its respective column. Alright, and we could do this with another row. So we utilize another row, and then we're like, alright, Tony Stark, and I believe he's 49 as of 2019. 49. Alright, and we have that respective change here. Now, what's a little bit awkward about this table is that, well, it's a bit like, it's not really the ideal table that you usually see. The ideal table you usually see is separated, the columns and rows are separated by these borders. So in that case, we're going to have to use some basic CSS, although I'm not really teaching mainly CSS in this HTML course. I'm going to teach it just for the sake, I'm going to teach some basic style for the purpose of editing this table. So we first input our style tag. This will say, hey, we're going to be using CSS right now to edit our HTML tags as well as our HTML attributes. Alright, so we're editing our table. We are also editing our table header. And then we're also editing our table data. Alright, open. There you go. Now, what's different about CSS is that we utilize semicolons to break instead of the chevron brackets. So border is now colon 1 pixel, solid black, and then our border dot collapse. Luckily, it fills that in for us, and then semicolon. All right. So we get that information here. And now the only problem that we have here is that, well, it's pretty darn congested. So again, we use the style attribute, but within the table tag. So we're like, all right, style is equal to width 100 percent. And there you go. So it changes with respect to how I move the page. Alright, so we're not just confined to having, well, one row within one column. We can edit it so that we can have many columns in, let's say, one row. So let's first define our table. Alright, and then table row. And in this row, we're going to have a name. So that's going to be a table header. And then I'm going to have multiple columns within this, well, column. So table header call span is now equal to, let's say, 2. And then within this case, right, I'm going to, what can be shown in a bunch of columns, marking period grades. Alright, so let's see how that looks. Alright, so again, we have 2 columns, but now we're going to have, let's just say, 2 pieces of information within this row. So we define another row, table row. We move up a tad bit. Alright, table row, table data, first name. Alright, now since we have 2 columns, we're going to have 2 pieces of information within this row. So TD, let's just say A minus. Yeah, I know I get A minuses. And then in this case, A. Alright, let's see how that looks. Alright, so now we have 2 columns within this under one header, marking period grades, A minus and A. Now this is a bit congested, so I'm just going to add that style again that I accidentally deleted. And I still can't spell width. Right, there you go. So we are separated by that we're separated by that border, and it's more evident because I added that style in the beginning so that it doesn't, well, look awkward. And the same way that we can have a multiple columns, we can also have multiple, well, rows. So again, we define table row, then we're going to have a table header. Now what's different is that we have to think of this in terms of, well, header and then data. So I'm going to have first my name, well, the name as in like the name, string text name, and then I'm going to have my actual name. So in that case, it's just going to be there. Alright, so we got name, and then you got, well, my actual name. So now we said another row, and then this is where the extra row comes in. So they were like, alright, our table header must have two rows. Alright, row span, not roll span, row span. Alright, and then I name this, let's say, Calc 3 grades, or Calc 3 grade, test grade. Alright, so for the first row, I'm going to have some piece of data. Maybe, let's say, 98. Just thinking about numbers on the top of my head. Then we're going to have another row, because, again, we got to think about this. So here we go. So we have our name, we have our Calc 3 test grade, and then we have our 98. Now we need to add that row because, well, we specified that our row span is equal to 2. So we add another row, right? And then we add the table data. In that case, let's just put number 93. there you go. It makes that respective change. So we have name, Calc 3 test grades, and then we have our multiple rows that fall under, well, this first header. Right? What's different about this is that from our previous tables, our headers were just specified at the top first row. Now we have to think about this in terms of columns. All right, so that wraps up our video for today. Thank you for watching.